What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Today, I have a very special guest, John Ruese with Ridgid and Greenlee. He is Vice President of Electrical and Hydraulic Tools, correct?
Absolutely. Hi, Pat. How you doing?
Outstanding. Glad I could be here for this. I'm finally glad to get to meet you. I talked to Maddie a couple times about you, and I was excited to have you on. Sounds like you know your stuff around there. So,
Absolutely. Our social media team and Marcom group do an outstanding job of reaching out and talking with people and getting us lined up for conversations like this. So I appreciate the connection.
So I filled you in a little bit earlier, but my main goal focus is kitchens. So I do a fair amount of pressing. I do installs on combi ovens, hot wells, some sinks, 3-bay sinks, dish machines and stuff. So I have a lot of places where I can't braise or I can't solder about getting a burn permit. And the burn permit is not the problem. It's the problem that some of these places, we don't even have enough insurance to do. So I work at a major pharmaceutical place based out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and they want you to do a 2-week course. And they told us we don't have enough insurance to even think about lighting a torch in there. So
absolutely.
Luckily they have on-site plumbers that pretty much take care of it. But, I do have the capabilities to press stuff in there. But any chance I can, if I can avoid lighting a torch, I'm going to press it. It's faster. It's safer. It's just as reliable, if not more anymore. And it's really cool. So
our job is to remove the flame from as many connections as we can, whether it's types of fittings, types of tools, help you guys get in and out faster without having to wait for fire watch or burn permits or special training courses. So you are the exact type of person we want to focus on.
I appreciate that. It makes my job easier and I get all the cool tools. So
absolutely.
So let's give everybody a brief introduction of who you are and what your role is and some of the things you do for Ridgid and Greenlee. It's not just Ridgid, it's Greenlee as well, correct?
Correct. So my role is really to oversee all of our Greenlee portfolio products. So when it comes to our electrician and electrical brands of business, it's a business that we acquired about 5 years ago now. And really helped us round out to that MEP contractor. So Ridgid, very, very strong in the plumbing space, and then plumbing and mechanical space. And then for us to be able to add on the electrical or electrician complement of products through the Greenlee and in Europe Klauke acquisition was really an outstanding portfolio add to us. So my background, I was with the Ridgid side of the business ahead of time, and basically came up through our operations. I was with our parent company. I've been with Ridgid for over 20 years. I've been in the pressing space for over 10 years now at this point. And so what my responsibility for is for all of the Greenlee products, but also the Ridgid pressing business and the Greenlee utility hydraulic tools. So things that are used to knock holes in panel boxes, things for cutting and crimping, utility applications, high power transmissions. And we have an entire suite of portfolio of products that help support that. So that's really where my area of focus is: new products, portfolio management, sales forecasting, pricing. What do we want to do? What do we want to prune? What customer applications do we want to focus on is where I spend most of my time.
That's cool. It sounds like a lot of fun stuff. Probably a lot of headaches too, but hey, a lot of fun.
It is.
So
it is.
How did you get started there? I mean, what was your role when you first came in? Have you always had this a business background and you just kind of worked your way up, or?
Yeah, no, I think my background is a little bit pretty well rounded. I actually came into our parent company with an electrical distribution company out of Chicago. And then I transferred over to the Ridgid business about, 20 years ago now, coming up through our supply chain organization. So basically the movement of goods and materials to, we have 10 factories around the world. We have distribution centers around the world. We have thousands of suppliers and parts that are required to help our production. So that was my background. And I grew up doing that, leading our global sourcing group for a period of time. And then about 10 years ago, was given the opportunity to move into general management. And I actually moved overseas to Switzerland to our press tool headquarters at the time to go run that business. So it was a chance to go kind of from supply chain operations into the pressing business as more of a general manager, which gave me kind of deep level insights into production aspects, the design and manufacturing, the testing, all the things that go into our press tools, which was an outstanding learning opportunity. I moved my family and 2 young kids over there. It was really a fun personal and professional experience that I did for about 5 years. After that, I moved back to the U.S., continuing to run that side of the pressing business, but expand a little bit more globally. We bought the Greenlee and Klauka business and kind of morphed jobs a couple of times as we put some pieces together. But now, since all of our hydraulic tools kind of come from one underlying platform, or at least similar type technologies, being able to oversee and bridge both of those for the Greenlee business and the Ridgid press tool business gives me a pretty good vantage point, having that background and lead up to where I am today.
Sweet. Sounds like you've had a lot of fun in those years you've been there. So
I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that side of my career.
So a lot of people don't know this, but I actually started off as an electrician. So I went to trade school. During high school, I went to vocational, started as an electrician, and I came out and went union for a while, non-union, before I got involved in this. So I'm familiar with, the Greenlee tools from 20 so years ago. And we have a few tools. We have some knockout stuff where we do a lot of European ovens and all the knockouts standard. So like if I need a 3/4, it's like too small or too big. It's like in between. So we have, a Greenlee knockout set, some other tools, but I'm doing a whole lot of electrical stuff anymore, but yeah. So
what made you transition from the electrical side into the commercial kitchens?
I got stuck traveling doing apartment complexes, and it just drove me nuts. Okay. My dad, he did HVAC, and then he transferred over to the commercial kitchen side of it. And the company he worked for got bought out, and he wanted to be a part of a big conglomerate. He'd always, he was an older guy. He was a lot older than my mom, actually, but he just didn't want a part of it, be a big conglomerate, and he went out and did his own thing for a while, and but before he left, he got me his territory, his role, moved me right in, and the rest is history. I've just been here learning.
Wow. That's good for you. Well, we love the electricians and the plumbing contractors and mechanical contractors too.
Yeah. So my job's a little bit of everything combined. So it fits me well. Like I said, I was traveling doing apartments, and it drove me nuts because it was like I'd go to one project, we'd be there for a week, and it was like the same apartment over and over and over. I'd go to another project. And sometimes it'd be like different projects, and it'd still be the same apartment. It just drives me nuts. It's like I can't do it. I lost my mind. So, this job suits me well. It's something different every day. I get to install stuff, service stuff. It's cool. So
yeah, no, it's a good transition. It helps you learn a different side of the trades.
Yeah. Yep. So we got a few things here to talk about. So next up is industry trends. What kind of trends in tool industry or potential impact on the market have you seen here lately?
We tend a lot of our focus is around the end user. So we are constantly out there trying to work with contractors, people like yourself. And so for trends, where we focus a lot of our time is around ergonomics. How do we make it less strainful, not just more comfortable in your hand, but less strainful in your tools, how you're using it, so that you can stay on the job longer into your career. These are physical jobs in a lot of instances. We want to make sure that day to day we're providing kind of the most optimal solution we can from that standpoint. We're also looking at things are moving faster, I would call it. So we have our tried and true kind of core tools, things like the Ridgid pipe wrench, our tubing cutter, some of our iconic stuff. But then we have battery technology, we have connected technology, we have Bluetooth, we have sensors that are laced throughout our programs, and that's an industry trend. Certainly, we are very ingrained in that and leading that in many instances, but I think that's a broader industry trend as you guys are looking for what type of tools can get me on and off the job faster, safer, more efficiently, more productively, all of those pieces together.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge factor is, safely and fast. I have guys all the time, I'll post some work and I show me pressing a refrigerant line or a water line, and guys are like, learn how to braze, learn how to solder. I'm like, in the situation, or I didn't want to in the situation. And guess what? I did it this way. Yeah, the fittings cost a little more, but my time savings more than makes up for it. Plus, you don't have to worry about burning down or burning up a wall or melting a panel inside a cooler or something. It's just there's more than one way to skin a cat, and evolve or get left behind is the way I see it.
Yeah, another big part of that's access to information, right? So you have a bevy of tools or a fleet of tools or many trucks of tools, depending on the size of your company. So where are your tools at? How are they being used? Where are they at in terms of their preventative maintenance? If you go out and do a job, how do you document that job? How do you retain that information? We do a lot with drain cleaners. We do a lot with, finding service networks around and available on there. So we have programs where, we're a tool company, but we have our own software development teams that are helping to integrate solutions into our types of products. And I think that's where a broader industry has been focused, certainly over the last 5 to 10 years, is really just trying to take relevant information, get it into the hands of the contractor so they can continue to do those jobs more efficiently. Or in your apartment job example, where you had to go back again. What did I do last time? What did I need to do? Just make sure that those pieces are coherent and you can basically go out and get paid for your time back and forth there.
Yeah, you guys, the tools, are evolving so fast. You get the new battery platform, new battery stuff. I look forward to seeing some of that. I was kind of jealous seeing all those guys playing with it. I was at Wet. I lucked into go Wet. So I work in Indianapolis. I don't live in Indianapolis. I live outside. But I work in Indianapolis, and Wet show was going on, and I didn't sign up for it. And I happened to get a service call at the convention center that day in their kitchen.
Okay.
So I had a couple service calls. So I was there most of the day, and then it was 1 o'clock. And I called the office hey, I'm done here. We got some more work for you. I was like, no, I'm taking the rest of the day off. I'm staying on the show floor. So I took my tool back out to the truck, come walk around the show floor. I was like, I'm either gonna get thrown out or no one's gonna say nothing, and no one said nothing. So I hung out at hung out at your guys' booth, checking out the new stuff, and it was cool. So.
Yeah, our battery powered drain cleaners, our connected drain cleaners, we offer a lot of different solutions, and Wet is certainly the biggest plumbing show that we have from that aspect. So glad you're able to stop by. You should certainly go see him again this year. I think the end of January.
Yeah, I'm definitely signing up for that and requesting off. But I always forget about it because I'm not really I wasn't really following as much plumbing stuff as I am now. So I always forgot about it. So now I make sure I follow Wet, and I was like, oh, I better get signed up for this and go check it out, or try to sneak in the door again.
Yeah, I'm sure we can find an invite somewhere.
Yeah. So another thing I like is your guys' new press tool, the smaller one, the 115.
RP 115.
Yeah. So that
is on my.
That is a great tool for the residential service guy to get into pressing. Your stuff's going to be 1/2 inch, 3/4. You're not gonna really need the 1 inch of bigger stuff, and that's a huge entry point for the guy that's just doing residential service or someone wanting to get into press technology. And when I seen that little thing, I was like, man, I was like, just throw something in my pocket and just walk in, do what I gotta do, and I was pretty impressed by that little thing.
Yeah, it's really cool. So one of the things we try and work on in the world of pressing is basically how do we move connections from the flame, whether it's solder, braze, etc. Into a safer, more reliable connection, because soldering is a skill, brazing is a skill. It takes time and effort to get really good at it. And pressing doesn't take the skill out of it, but it helps you make more reliable, quicker connections. And so for us, as we're trying to get more people into the pressing category and make it more accessible, or if you have a large fleet and only a couple of press tools, how do you get this so you get more tools on more trucks? And if you look at the type of connections, the 1/2 and 3/4 inch are the vast majority of actual connections made. This tool doesn't do everything, but it's almost half the cost of our next tool up, and it does a lot of what's in there. So it's been extremely popular. It's I think helped us introduce that pressing into a new set of users and make it more accessible to a lot of people. So we've been really pleased with it. We think it's a great launching point. But as people get into pressing, I can do that. I can also do this with another type of tool. I can do this with another type of tool. And we offer a suite of tools that cover everywhere from 1/2 inch copper all the way up to 4-inch steel pipe, depending on the application you're going after.
Yeah, so I personally have the 351, and I love it. And the reason I went with that is just because I do 2-inch drains on sinks and my ovens. So I got something I can do 2-inch with. And I went with that style inline versus the pistol grip. The only thing is, when you put that 2-inch jaw in there, that thing's a little top heavy, and you got to make sure all that thing. So I got it in, and the very first job I did, I gave it to my son. He's one of my apprentices, 21 years old. He's been working with me for a little over a year and a half. Absolutely loves it. Is excelling at it. And I was like, hey, I showed him how to use it. I was like, here, you can do the first one. I'm gonna record it. He grabbed a hold of that thing. I thought he was gonna drop it on my foot.
Yeah, with the tool capability, it's a matter of preference. We offer both. We have inline or pistol version. When you get to things like, I always have tools in me. When you get to a 2-inch jaw, this is a 3/4 inch jaw, but you can ergonomically balance this tool a little bit just based on where your hand is. When you get into the inline version and look a little bit farther, it gets harder. Mm-hmm. One of the things we do have, though, we have press rings. So we go everywhere from 1/2 inch up to 4-inch press rings. And if you're in tight locations or you're at an odd angle, it gives users an extra option as far as how they might be able to make those connections and avoid it. But we make big, heavy tools for big, heavy applications. We make them as small and light as we can. I'll hold this with a couple of fingers, and this still has enough force to lift, a small car. But it's something that we need to make robust and strong. And, these jaws are under a tremendous amount of force. And so that 2-inch jaw is strong and heavy for a reason.
Yep. That's my next purchase is definitely going to be a set of C1 jaws so I can get in some close stuff. So I look forward to trying some of that stuff out. So,
I love watching the use cases of those where people will post, either online or send us photos of them that say, I couldn't reach in here, and they have that thing tucked up inside a ceiling or a wall or in a floor. And it is really a handy application for it.
Oh yeah, that big tool struggles, but you put the C1 jaws in there, you can get that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you don't have to be straight on. You can, get your ring on there. You can be at an angle.
Yeah.
Perpendicular. I mean, as long as those are on there and it pinches it closed, you're good.
Absolutely. Just make sure you have the right tool for it.
Yes.
That you're looking for.
Yeah. So you guys, I'll bring this up. I don't know if I should, but no, I guess I should. You guys partner with RLS for some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had the copy tool for a couple of years, do some stuff with RLS.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good company. I was excited to see when you guys, launched a pairing up with RLS for some stuff for them. And they're a really good company, and, they've got a great product. And I use the Clocky, and I can't knock it. It does a great job for me. So, but yeah, sure. I see come out with the RLS setup. I was like, oh, man.
I have one of those back here, too. No, RLS, look, for our tools to work, we have to partner with fitting companies.
Yep.
And that was one of the other, topics you wanted to talk about a little bit is,
mm-hmm.
We have, there's a long history behind it, and I can go into that at another point in time, but you have, whether it's water fitting or refrigeration fittings now, or other applications, electrical, lugs and connectors, all of these have some sort of tie-in certification testing that goes with them. So RLS was really the first one to take the press into the refrigerant ACR space. They're an outstanding company. We partner with them. We own the Klauka business now. And so RLS through Klauka, RLS, complemented by Ridgid, that's absolutely where we want to focus. But we have a lot of installed Ridgid users that can also extend into this ACR space, that have Ridgid tools, that want RLS jaws that go along with those. So we have a couple of fitting partnerships, but RLS has been a very good relationship and collaboration with that team and our team, whether it's in Europe, out of Klauka, or here out of the US.
Yeah, the refrigeration game's kind of weird because everyone has their own independent jaws. It's water. Mm-hmm. Pretty much one set of jaws does them all. But when you get refrigeration, it's like, no, you can't use this. Everyone has their own set. It's like, man.
Yeah, that's a little bit of the history lesson. You look at certain industries have like a standard across the board. And you've seen that even just recently in Europe, where Apple was forced to go to a USB-C connector type because so many different connection types make it difficult to scale. It makes it difficult for end users. You want 3 different types of tools, and if they have 3 different types of connectors and everything else. One of the beauties of the pressing space was this started in Europe, and there are really 2 main varieties. There was the M profile or monosmith system, which has an O-ring closer to the end. That came out in the 50s or 60s. And then the V profile, which is for Vega, came out in the late 80s. And we were one of the originals with them, with the tools in Europe through our facility that I went over and ran. to be able to standardize around a couple of different types. And the V profile, we worked with Viga to bring it to the US. So really that's the de facto or only water pressing system here. The tool manufacturers at that point in time, that was definitely before my time, but the tool manufacturers at that time, also standardized on the force output of the tool. So you had a standardized fitting system and you had standardized tool force outputs, whether it was, 19, 24, 32 kilonewtons of force. The refrigeration space hasn't had that. And maybe it'll go there, but RLS was the first, but you've certainly got others that are lined up. First main one in the US, I'll call it. But you have other ones that go out, and they're all different sizes and different shapes, and each fitting company has their own testing and their own claims that go along with it. Each requires a different set of jaws. So it makes it a little bit harder for the end user. It's a little bit of a preference standpoint. There's a lot of testing. Refrigeration pressing is hard. It's high temperatures, it's vibration, it's different types of fluids. It's a lot of things that are require a really significant connection, and that's part of where we have to partner with different fitting manufacturers to make it successful.
Well, I never realized that's what it was, but that makes sense to me now that you explain it that way. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
So, on the 351, you can buy. Is that the one you can get some different attachments for that one? Correct.
Yes. Yeah, you can have the strut cutter. We have a soil pipe cutter that goes along with it. We have the V2 actuator.
Okay. Sweet, that's what I thought. But I'd be after the strut cutter to do a lot of installs and I'll do a lot of strut. I can't cut with the portaband or with the saws. Unless I have my chop saw out there with the metal blade, it's not going to be strut. I mean, it's not going to be straight. It's going to be ugly. So I don't want to do that. So what are some
and that's also where it becomes. That's where that safety and efficiency side of things go into it as well. So, you look at our strut cutter and it goes along with it, but it makes a perfectly square cut for all intents and purposes. It's burr free. There's not sharp edges. You don't have a spinning blade going on. So we are trying to incorporate that safety aspect into, a tool that these guys are using today. It takes, no effort at all to pull out a jaw and swap it out. But if you're running, water lines, or you're hanging, strut from different areas within a building and doing installations, it's a great little add-on for somebody that's already got a standard size tool.
Identify industry challenges in your company strategies to ensure tool safety and efficiency. So what do you guys do to make sure the tools are safe and efficient? Just testing, or?
So a couple of things. One was a little bit around when you look at safety. So we try and make these tools as safe as we can. In reality, we also live in a litigious society in the U.S. So, if somebody doesn't use something correctly, is it operator error? How did the tool function? What are a lot of those things? So we spend a ton of time going through that. That's also why you get things, you look at your product manuals and it's pretty detailed. And some people read them, many people don't. So we try and make the tools intuitive to use, useful to that application to make sure that that's helping on there. But the other part goes really back to, I think, where you started is time. These guys should go through training, apprenticeships, certification courses, working with a master plumber, electrician, and honing their craft, whether they're using what we think is a really safe, intuitive tool, or whether they're doing something by their, on the job training, skilled trade lab course, certification courses to work their way through. So we try and support that. So we talk about industry trends. We spend a lot of money, time, energy doing sponsorships for training programs. We have over 350 Green Apple labs, training labs to help people learn, whether it's plumbing or electrical, skilled trade labs. Pardon me, I got to back that up. Used to be Green Apple Labs when it was owned by the Greenlee brand. Now we call it the Emerson Skilled Trades Lab. But we are working with trade organizations, safety committees at different large contractors. We're working with apprentice programs. We're working with people like PHCC or AHR when they sponsor programs. We want to be there to help encourage that level of training. So when they are using our tools that are, again, hopefully safe, hopefully intuitive to most people, but they are powerful tools that can do a lot of different things. So we want to make sure people are very trained when they work on those.
Sweet. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You want the guys to be safe as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to do it. There's just people that, they don't pay attention. They goof off. You got to take it serious. It's designed to smash stuff, and it will smash after you put it in there. And your finger is a lot softer than a piece of copper or steel.
Absolutely. And we take that is a corporate priority for us and one of our core tenets, even back to our factories. When they come in here, we preach safety every day. Like, you own your own safety. You need to look around, make sure your job site is clean, make sure you're not carrying too heavy a load, bending in the wrong direction. If you're a sales guy out in the field on a job site doing a demo, do you have all the proper PPE? Are you operating in a safe manner? We want all of our employees and our customers to go home safe at the end of every day.
Yep, and that's the same thing with us. Our core values, safety is number one. We all got a job to do, but we all have families at home, friends, loved ones that want to see it. We all want to make it home to the day. So that is the biggest part of everything, safety. So I agree 100%.
Absolutely.
Do you guys see any growth opportunities in specific regions or sections of the trades?
Certainly.
It's kind of a broad question.
Yeah, no, it is a broad question, but we look at those things in a lot of different ways. And I think within the trades, you have areas of really specific growth. So I mentioned things like our more traditional rigid products, things like our pipe wrenches, our tubing tools, our threading machines, some other areas. As that technology has shifted and as materials came on, we got into pressing. So Ridgid's a 100-year-old company. In the US, we've been in pressing for, going on 25 years now. So that's something that came in relatively more recent. Things like our camera systems that allow us to diagnose things, and you're not digging up a random spot in your yard, but you know exactly what you're going after and you can drop down and pinpoint it. So I think as you look underneath the jobs that are being done, there are certainly growing areas of that. We just got into pipe patching alongside our drain cleaning line. So you're not replacing an entire section. We're taking something that needs to be done and getting into a little bit more of a narrow focus where you can get in and out in much less time and much less intrusive to that job site. So that's kind of one aspect. The other side of it is looking at new materials and new markets. And I'll push two of ours or talk about two of them. One that we mentioned earlier was the ACR market and pressing market. ACR has been around for a long time, but there's constant changes in types of refrigerants that you can use, and efficiency levels for these things are incredible energy hogs, for lack of a better term, that are on there. So how do we make that work more accessible? Manufacturers of the equipment are constantly changing as they're raising the bar on some of those. And so the idea of taking, whether it's pressing or cutting or bending tools or anything else into that space helps us grow, and it's a sector of growth. And then the other big one for us is in the utility side. So you look at whether it's electrical grids and utilities, and you talk about grid hardening and aging infrastructure and all of those different types of spaces. These massive utilities are spending billions and billions of dollars in this space to help make your building, your home, larger grids more resilient. And we play there. We have a lot of products that are in that space. We have a lot of sales guys and utility partners in that space, but also comes down to your local municipality, your water, your sewer district, those type of areas. So I think for us, or at least for me, those are two big areas that we are focusing on as we look forward as far as sectors of growth.
Sweet. Yeah. I've noticed a lot of your guys' stuff, the Greenlee stuff, I started following a lot more. When I realized you guys were sister companies, and like a lot of the stuff, like some of the pressing for like the big lugs and stuff, and some of the power stuff you guys do is pretty cool. So I look forward to seeing what you guys have to come out with in that sector, because I miss being an electrician, but I didn't get to do no cool stuff like that. I was just doing apartments and some light commercial. You see those guys with those big giant power plant jobs. I got a friend. He actually builds solar farms across the country. He travels. That's what he does. He travels and builds solar farms, and he has all the cool tools, and he's always bragging about it. So,
yeah, I was just down in Louisville a couple of months ago for our the utility show, which is like the national utility. You walk around, you see some of the massive bucket trucks and installation of things that are required to help support that. Number one. Number two, I don't have a Greenlee tool here, but the shape and battery hydraulic tool connector that we have for cutting and crimping and others. We're actually partnering with a company that they take our tools and attach them to drones and fly them up to go, clear debris, cut wire, make connections, where before you might have a guy hanging out of a helicopter to go do those same things. So, that goes into the safety, but it's a really cool way to look at where our tools and technology can go.
I never even thought of that. That's cool to see a drone up there just cutting away some some tree lines or making some connections. That's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's a really neat application that requires some different engineering. How we have things like remote cutters to move the user away from a live power line, but then it also can translate into something like actuating the tool from the ground while a drone is flying overhead.
That's cool. I mean, anything to do it safely, and I totally understand and support that. So that's cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize how much voltage or how much amperage is up there on those lines, man. It gets crazy.
Oh yeah.
You see those guys?
It is. They have layers and layers of PPE. We have a fully insulated press tool that stops basically any of the transmission that goes through it or on our electrical side. But hot sticks, gloves, they have a variety of tools that they need to do just to continue to be safe in that environment.
Sweet. Yeah. My son, before he came here, he was thinking about being a lineman. His buddy actually went to lineman school and was going to be a lineman. And he didn't get picked up where he wanted to go, so he came to work for me. So I guess I'm a backup. But hey.
It's okay. They're both great industries to get into. And it sounds like you got a good young helper.
Yeah, he does pretty good. Except when he calls and bothers me with dumb stuff, and then I get on him.
Sure.
Everyone's like, man, he's got it made because he's your son. I'm like, no, that's probably different. I'll say stuff to him I can't say to anybody else because someone else will tell on me.
Yeah, a lot of time they take that a little bit harder because, I'm certainly harder on my kids than I would be on their friends.
Oh, for sure. So let's talk about tool usability and design. So I noticed your guys' stuff pretty ergonomic. It doesn't feel bad in the hand.
Sure.
Put a lot of emphasis and a lot of focus on to make sure the tool is comfortable and easy to use. That way you guys can use it longer in the day. And, if it's comfortable and it feels good, they want to use it. They don't want to put it down for something. And I see that in all your tooling. You see, if it's good in the hand. Of course, some of those jaws get a little heavy, but that's just to be expected, when you're working in those environments. But what kind of emphasis do you guys put on that, ergonomics and usability?
So that is an area that's a lot of fun to play with and learn about. So I'll use the example here for the RP 350. When we designed this tool, we actually had basically 3D models that we took out, and we slid the handle forward and back and changed the angle. We put it in the hands of people out in the field and said, what do you like about it? What do you want to change? So that's kind of the one side of that. The other side, and we have a great example on our Greenlee website, is we worked with a company to measure the strain and stress of different positions, different tool weights, different applications. So we worked with the Knoxville Utility Board on the Greenlee utility side and went out to their yard and worked with their people in their instances to determine if you're bending this way or reaching this way, what type of strain is it putting on your forearm or your shoulders or these different aspects. And I was actually just in a meeting this morning with our industrial design team where we're upgrading to the latest generation of this to take that data and what used to take us kind of 30 days to digest and work our way through. We're now going to start getting that real time. So incorporating that into our new product development process and making that much, much faster is a huge part of what we do from the tool design standpoint, as well as we do lots and lots of field research. We have lots of end user contacts, and our sales force spends most of their time out in the field doing demos. So we use that as a way to test new products, and we're constantly sending our design teams or our product management teams into different areas to go out and take a concept tool or take a weighted model and see what these guys think about it. So we do try and roll that back into our development cycle.
Yeah, if the guy's comfortable using it, he's going to buy it. He's going to use it more. So make sure comfort and durability is great. So yeah,
absolutely.
Your sales guys are out there, absolutely kill it. Like I've talked to, I follow the Ridgid rep on Instagram, and that guy's everywhere doing all kinds of fun stuff. I had a question. I had a question about who my local guy was. He put me in contact with him, and I got some pricing on tooling. So I'm trying to set up a program for my company, which we're part of a bigger company, but we have like 31 branches. I'm trying to set up a cost versus pressing, brazing, and soldering, with the added, safety stuff, the added firewashing for the guy there versus the fittings and everything else. I'm trying to put the cost analysis, together. And he put me in contact with people to get some pricing on some tooling and stuff. And but those guys, they're a wealth of knowledge. If you catch them out and about, make sure you talk to them. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, we not only have our sales force out there, but we have a group called Pro Tools Specialists. So they go out, they have basically an entire catalog on their truck, and they come out and do demo and help support the local sales guys. And then we also have utility sales specialists that are really specific onto power grids and utilities to make sure that we cover it. Plus a wonderful inside sales team that can answer your questions, tech service, all of the, things that we do to make sure we're supporting our end users.
Sweet. So let's talk about reliability and durability of your tools. I keep Ridgid just because that's what I use, I've experience with, but Greenlee has a huge line of tools as well. So let's talk about reliability and durability of the tools. So I'm supposed to have, my tool, for instance, I have a 351. So how many presses can you get out of that tool before you need to send it in to be serviced or anything?
So that's the first tool in the industry. So if you go back, first of all, that 351 is our 7th generation of press tool. It's not our first, it's not our second. We've been doing this for 30 years. So every generation of tool has gotten significantly more reliable. Number one. Number two, as they've gotten more and more reliable, we've taken the service level up, similar to what you've seen with your car, right? If you go back to when you first started driving your car, maybe every 3,000 miles, it had to go in for an oil change, or at least when I started driving, that's what it was. Where now your car will tell you if it needs service. Very similar thing in the press tool industry, where we went from 20,000, 30, 40, 50,000 cycles to this tool that you have. We've taken the service requirement off of that tool. That tool will run until it tells you something is wear and tear over time, or it's just gotten to a point. But we tested, over I forgot exactly how many. I think it's over 3 million cycles of different tests during the development that we went through. But that tool will last well beyond 60,000 cycles without a need for regular maintenance like you would have with an oil change and other things. So that's a big part of it. We're constantly learning, constantly testing, and then we're investing in new technology. So as we look at things like better electronics and brushless motors and better battery technologies and test capabilities in-house. So we just put in a jaw testing piece of equipment here that was, it's a couple $100,000 worth of testing equipment, but it allows us to get to that first data point 5 times faster than our last one. So we can iterate through testing much, much quicker and help make a more reliable, long-lasting product that fits the end user need. So for us, that's kind of a huge area. We have thousands of square feet of engineering labs and test labs and other things really in different locations around the world.
Yeah, that's critical because, if you notice a couple of issues, so a couple of guys are having issues with something, you can bring it in and test it in-house. You don't have to send it out. You can test it in-house. You can, you see it, you can bring it in and get it rolling and get it figured out what's going on or what happened. So that's pretty cool. You guys are investing in, your own testing stuff.
When it comes to hydraulic tools and hydraulic tool packages, we have by far the broadest capabilities around the world. So in addition with the Klauka acquisition that we did a couple of years ago, whether it's Europe, Asia, the US, we have design and manufacturing capabilities for hydraulic tools, really by market, by industry, in many our locations around the world. So it does help us to respond much quicker. We have service networks in the US, we have service networks in Asia and Europe, and we are constantly trying to help make sure that our end users are up and running as quickly as they can. Stuff always happens, obviously, whether it's a malfunction of a tool or somebody drops it or runs it over with something, but we want to get them back in business as quickly as we can.
Runs it over. I'm sure you guys have seen everything. I know I've seen that wrench in there. You guys have. I've seen some social media.
The giant curve, yeah.
Trailer with it or something. I'm like, what? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Warning labels for a reason, I guess.
Sure. But we will try our best to fix it, is what I can say.
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys stand behind your product 100%. So that's really, you can't ask for anything else, really.
We have the Ridgid lifetime warranty, and that's against defects and workmanship. Tools wear out, things wear down over time, normal wear and tear and usage. But if it's something's wrong with it, we will fix it.
So you guys do a lot of cool stuff for the end users, for technicians and for plumbers and electricians. You guys, you have the Greenlee and Ridgid experiences, and you hit on a little bit about some training stuff you guys had. You used to call it the Green App, now it's something else now.
Skilled Trades Lab. Yep.
Skilled Trades Lab. So you want to go into a little bit about that and what that exactly is, or?
Sure. I mean, we are industry stewards. We take that responsibility seriously. We want to help train the next generation of contractors and support the skilled trade. So we have scholarships and tools for continuing education. We have our own skilled trades lab that we install in different apprentice schools basically around the country, which we're up over 350 now, which is a lot. I mean, that's a pretty good size group. We also have over 15,000, I think it's 17,000 square feet of training facilities in-house, whether it's in Elyria for our Ridgid, primarily Ridgid products, as well as some Greenlee, or our Rockford locations. Rockford, Illinois, our trainers have over, almost 100 years of experience. So we really do try and get down, be knowledgeable to that MEP contractor. These guys know where to go. They know what to do. We work with another company. We work in partnership with NC3 on technical certifications. So it's something that we have to invest in, we believe, to help support our business into the future as well.
That's cool. I love seeing, businesses give back and train the next generation of techs. It's a big goal of us here at Chronicles to try to share what we do and try to highlight people. We started a Young Gun series where we focus on guys 25 and under that found the industry, found the trades, and they're out there just killing it. The inspiration was from my son, but he refuses to come on, so I got to find another guy.
No, when Maddie hooked us up, I listened to a couple of your episodes just to come up to speed. And the Young Gun series I thought was really cool. It's a very different approach. And we talk a lot about the skilled trade shortage, right? In most of these industries, college, 4-year college was like the panacea of where you have to go to. And I think more and more people are realizing that it's expensive. It's not for everybody. And you can make a great living doing value add work like the MEP trades. And so anything we can do to help support kind of that macro trend of shortages in labor force as people retire, as well as entice younger people into the trades, things like your Young Guns program podcast, I think is outstanding.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I'm glad to see companies like you guys doing that. And there's hope for the future. A lot of young guys are starting to realize it. Like I said, my son does it. He's got some friends that are doing stuff. He's got a friend that's a lineman. They're out there, and it's just I don't know what the huge push was. Like when I graduated in 2000, and it was a huge push. It was like, man, I barely made it out of high school. I didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
I couldn't sit here. I couldn't focus. There's no way I'm going to go to college where my mom's not sitting there forcing me to go to school every day. It's not going to happen.
Sure.
And I was already taking the electrical stuff, and so I came out and did that. And then my son, he wanted to go to school with his buddy. His buddy was going for rodeo, and my son wanted to follow him out there, party boys. I was like, it's well for you, dude. I was like, I'll tell you. I was like, I make too much money. You're not going to go for free. You're going to have to pay.
Yeah.
bail out, you still got to pay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once I told him that, he was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't go out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, there's so many places to learn today that's very different than where it was. Your podcast is a great example. Some of the other people that are big in the industry, it's like the information is available, even if you don't, if that's not your life goal is to become a master plumber electrician, you can constantly improve your trade a little bit. You can learn tips, you can learn tricks, and you can ask, hey, what's the best type of tool if I want to do this? The online community, which we were a part of going back to a forum on a website 20 plus years ago, that community effort has just grown and expanded, and the ability to work with people like you and support people that want to grow their craft and trade and teach others and learn from others. It's really been fun to watch over the last few years.
Yeah, and it just seems like, online, it's like it's become the blue collar, the trades guys like playground now. It's just like Instagram is huge for, the plumbers, the HVAC guys, the electricians. And that's how I got started. I was jealous. Like I had an Instagram and I was following all these guys. I'm like, man, they got all these cool tools, these huge followings. Yeah. There's no one like me out there. There's no one doing what I did. And that's why I started doing it. And it's just kind of grown from there.
Yeah, but in reality, that's not driving many new customers for you. It's more about that community and that learning and that, being prideful in your work and wanting to show off some of what you're doing. I mean, that's the part that I think is really neat and different about it. It's not like you're advertising in the phone book to say, hey, guy up the street, come hire me for these jobs.
No, and I always tell everybody, if you can show your work and have pride in your work, you're going to do a better job. You're going to do it because you want to show it off. So it's going to encourage you to be better. So that's kind of another reason why I like showing what I do is because, okay, if I'm willing to show it off, it means I'm proud of it. If I'm proud of it, I know I did the job. So it's just kind of like adds
Absolutely.
In. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any future predictions for electrical and hydraulic tools in the next 5 to 10 years?
So a couple of things in that realm. One, we are trying to fast forward as we look at wear and tear on people's bodies. How do we keep them in the job longer? How do we make sure that they're safer? So we talked about that already. I think automation in these tools and the processes behind them is really important. So, you have advancements in technology and things that make them last longer. You have to buy them less. They're in the repair shop less. That's where we continue to lead and aspire to go, is making sure that we are providing that best product out there to keep them going. The other one is to make it faster and more available. And the example I use here is we're currently undergoing a pretty sizable renovation here in our Elyria, Ohio facility, where we're revamping how we manufacture our press jaws. And we're taking, significant time out of that process, and we're creating kind of this fully integrated manufacturing facility that will help us increase our output faster, help turn when demand goes up and down, adjust more quickly. That helps us be more efficient. It helps us offer products to the market more efficiently. And the quicker we can get it in your hands out in the field, whether that's through our distribution partners or through our manufacturing processes or the repair center, that's an area that will continue into the future, and we're investing heavily in to make sure that we're able to support that. We want to put the right capabilities in the right spot where the business is going.
Sweet. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. The faster you can get out there, the better. So if you guys can stay at everybody else, it's better off for you guys. So I understand that. So
sure.
Explore developments benefiting field technicians, involve them in the feedback loop. So you already said that you rely on the technicians out there. You'll give them a tool, feedback, and ask them, what they think about this or that. Anything in particular you look for when, you're talking to a guy about a tool, just generally how it feels in the hand or how it works or anything?
We try and come at it from both ways, because if you ask somebody what they want, oftentimes they'll give you a very narrow slice that you can sell one to that guy. And, we have to sell a lot of products to a lot of people to make it valuable. So I think where our insights really come in is where we're able to go out in the field and identify pain points, just by watching something they're not even thinking about, but our people are trained to look at and see what can we do. Oh, he had to walk 20 feet over here to go get this, to hook up that, to come back over here. How do we take that time out? Versus he goes, man, it'd be great if you added this to the end of that product. So I think looking at it through a little bit of an experience lens, our salespeople and Pro Tool specialists have been out in the field for some of them decades, if not many years. And their ability to identify that, suggest solutions, as well as bring that back into our development process. My product guys are constantly on the phone with the sales team trying to understand, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are the areas we should be focused on? So I think that's the broadest part. And then I'm really excited about the ergonomics and, kind of the new tool technology we were talking about there. How do we get faster, more real-time results and be able to prove to somebody that this is in fact less strain on your body and will help you elongate your career in some instances.
Sweet. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what else comes out. I mean, I'm a terrible person. I have tools I used one time, and my wife gets mad because it sits collecting dust just because I thought it was cool and I had to use it. I found one opportunity to buy it, to use it, and it just sits. So
absolutely, you have to use it twice to pay for itself unless you have big jobs. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't get to do a whole lot of big job stuff. It's a weird little market I'm in. I mean, I do some installs and stuff, but it's different. I like what I do, but it's cool. But I love seeing these big giant jobs where these guys are just in a lift all day and they're putting up pipe or hanging pipe and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And
sure,
there's a place for everybody. And my mind wants me to be where I'm at. Unfortunately.
You have everything from very large, industrial or large commercial jobs down to residential or individual commercial kitchen repairs. And how do you, different companies service those markets differently. So there's nothing wrong with playing at a certain level and making sure that you're the best in that arena.
Yep. I'm looking forward to the day I get to cut some gas line and press it back together, because in these kitchens, they put these gas lines in, they design the kitchen with this much equipment, and then all of a sudden they add more equipment. And it's like, in order to take it all apart, you're taking apart 20 feet of gas lines. There's probably 40 fittings on there. You don't know. Towards the day where I just go in there, okay, I got to add something here. I'm just going to cut it, press in some press.
Steel pipe press or mega press. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's been a cool little thing. I never thought I'd have a press gun. And like I said, I only started this a couple of years ago, and it's crazy the advancements that I've seen in a couple of years. So I look forward to whatever's coming down the pipe from you guys. I mean, I'm probably going to buy some Greenlee tools too, just because I want some more stuff to play with. I do, like I said, I do quite a bit of knockouts and some equipment. So now that I get a hydraulic one, I'll probably just have a ratcheting one, but I can't afford the hydraulic one for my few times I use it.
Well, and if you go into some of these installs, there are all aspects of it. That's where that mechanical space gets a little bit fuzzy, where there are people doing a little bit of plumbing work or a little bit of electrical work. And, they're generally a little bit specialized or more specialized, but to have a little bit of a jack of all trades kind of option is certainly a good thing to have as well. So I would love to see more Greenlee products on your trucks as well.
Sweet. I don't think there's anything else I want to cover. I think we kind of pretty much covered everything. Anything else you want to cover or talk about before we get off here?
No, I do want to applaud things that you and some of your colleagues or peers are doing in this industry. The idea of making the trades attractive, telling stories about it, inviting different levels of insight in it, I really think is rewarding, certainly for us to see as a manufacturer. And then I think it's necessary as we look at trying to draw more and more people into the skilled trade. So I thought it was great. It was a great discussion. And, we certainly want to support the industry going forward. So as people like you and others, bring us your suggestions, bring us, your pain points, some of those things. We want to make sure that we're trying to solve as much as we can to get you guys off more jobs more quickly and home earlier.
That's what I tell my boss. I'm like, look, if I can do this job faster, that means I'm more efficient. The more efficient I am, the more calls I can run. The more calls I run, the more money I make. I'm like, it all adds up. And trying to get to see it that way sometimes is a pain point. And that's managers versus technicians' point of view. I mean, it's just always going to be a battle. It just is what it is. But, I appreciate, their insight, and we'll get it figured out one day. I can't get everything I always want.
Tell your boss, if I'm more efficient, I can get one more job done today, and you make more money, and we make more money.
I'm trying. I appreciate you guys' support, and have a good night, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care, Pat.
See you.
See ya.
Bye.